Horror movie games have always been pretty tricky to pull off, but when pulled off correctly, they easily become a sensation. But more often than not, they miss the mark one way or the other. That's probably why nowadays they just turn them into PvEs, which is kind of sad because they have now just become the same game in different skins. But back in the day, they would actually try to turn a full property into a game. But when you do that, you do end up with games like this, which many believe Eurocom should have probably not even bothered with. All I've ever heard about this game is how bad it is. And I still don't believe it. I mean, come on, how could it? You're playing as a predator, running around a city killing fools. That's pretty much all you would want from a predator game. But you look up any review and the scores are pretty brutal. So as someone who hasn't played this game yet, I'm very curious to see why this game is still hated on 20 years later. So join me as I take a look at Predator Concrete Jungle. The game story actually starts out pretty promising. It begins in 1930 where, as a predator, you hunt down this mafia boss named Bruno Borgia. You do so, but you are unsuccessful in the whole escaping part.
Yep, that's me.
You get pretty messed up and leave some of the tech there, and now your presence as a species has been left there for the humans. So as punishment for sucking the other Yautja, aka predators for y'all normies out there, you get exiled to this wasteland. And a century later, you're sent back to Earth to reclaim the predator technology that the humans have been using this entire time. So now with a brand new nickname and a purpose, Scarface must go to Neonopolis to retrieve the tech.
Say hello to my little friend!
Now, if this was the extent of the story, I think many of us would be happy with it. But unfortunately, it's not. Because they add Lucretia Borgia, which is the mob boss's granddaughter, is in there, and her dad, which would be the mob boss's son, Hunter Borgia, is in there too. And throughout the story, they discover that predator blood can make you immortal. So then Hunter becomes like this hybrid monster thing. Then Isabella Borgia shows up, who's the mobster's wife, and she's been alive this entire time because she was stuck in a tank with some of the predator blood. And the cherry on top, when you do get rid of Lucretia, her brain is revived and used as AI to oversee Neonopolis. The story is a giant mess. Now listen, I did pretty much spoil the entire thing for you in 2 seconds, but believe me, I'm doing you a favor. This game did what later bad Predator movies would do, which is overcomplicate things for no reason, because it should always be as simple as this is a predator and he has to hunt things. But they always feel the need to add a why. Why is he hunting? What's the reason? The reason should be for shits and giggles. There's your answer. Boom, move on. You want to expand on their culture and their rules and how honorable they are, because in this game you're not supposed to kill anyone who's not a threat. Fine, you want to add all those things? That's always welcome, but adding a mob boss and old ladies floating in tanks and
Ex-porn star hookers, right?
who are only dressed like this as a disguise, mind you, because they're actually equipped with badass predator tech suits, that's super unnecessary. Now don't get me wrong, overly insane stories can be good, especially if they're helped greatly with good dialogue and voice acting. But this does not. Some lines of dialogue are pretty ridiculous, and the voice acting isn't good enough to either make it decent or even push it over to so bad it's good territory.
El demonio invisible. In the name of screaming shit. I don't have time for these ignorant ghost stories.
You can probably tell by the tone of my voice already that this game is pretty rough. It's in these times where I use it as a life lesson and looking for the positives through all the shit, and I actually felt quite a bit. I think this game has great fundamental ideas, but they just fell extremely short in its execution. I really did like the idea of humans getting their grubby hands on predator tech. Leveling the playing field is a fun premise. There's just not enough disparage between enemies with predator tech compared to the ones without. Like, why is this fool taking more than a single hit to die? Sound effects I thought were spot on, the music is alright, how Scarface looks, his design I thought was pretty cool, but then again most predators are cool. I did see hate all over about the graphics, and yeah, they're probably not the best in the generation, but I've definitely seen worse before. There's some fun gear that you can unlock. I really enjoyed the brutal levels of gore Scarface does in the game, it's really dope. Turning them into cosplays of that one Robbie Williams video is awesome. Executions are by far the highlight of the game. They're just so brutal and in tune with the predator. They're just really fun. Some gadgets can be cool, like the cloaking, the smart disc that roams around decapitating fools. That's pretty nice. And the idea of the vocal mimicry to lure enemies is both interesting and also kind of scary, which that is using the property well. The different visors is an interesting idea as well. Thermal detecting heat, tech vision, allowing you to see cameras and robots and all that other stuff, and the neurovision as well, that shows the mental state of each enemy and analyzes their behavior, kind of seems ahead of its time. It was just not implemented or used that well. That was my biggest issue with these things. Now notice how I'm really just mentioning ideas and the presentation as being good. That's because the gameplay takes the fun from these things away. Now you can dole out light and heavy attacks. You can't block, but you can jump and flip around to dodge. You can also jump really high, kind of like this Hulk jump, and also push off walls. Now all this again, really good ideas. Execution, not so much. Why? Because the controls are complete and total ass. When it comes to his movements, it just doesn't feel right. Nothing really does feel right. Nothing is tight enough to make it fun. Couple this with later levels where you need precision platforming, this could lead to frustration. And since there's no checkpoints, sometimes one mistake can really cost you. With so much that you can do, all the weapons, all the attacks, all the visors, it would take my dumbass 3 or 4 presses before I actually found what I was looking for. The camera is by far the biggest culprit. It is complete and utter ass, and it's even more booty cheeks in close quarters. It's just working against you the entire time. Nothing really frustrates me more than when I die in video games when the game sucks, because if I suck, then okay, I can try and fix that. I can't literally fix the game. And in this case, we both suck. The game sucks and myself. Using gadgets consumes energy. You have to find this pod thingy and hit to refill it. I think even fans would agree that even the whole energy bar thing should have been scrapped, or at least give us a cheat to make it infinite. Executions aside, combat just boils down to being pretty simple. Doesn't really take advantage of the cool weapons, making them feel more like a waste, like the plasma caster, which doesn't feel super effective. Taking down the different street gangs is okay as far as enemy variety goes, although super stereotypical, it's whatever. The hookers are my favorite. But I did like using enemies to open doors. How you ragdoll enemies can be fun, making you feel imposing and like a big threat. But again, some of the normal enemies would endure just too much punishment before they die. Now I get it for the goons that have the tech, but everyone else should just die in one swipe. There might not be super compelling level design in terms of the boss fights, but there was at least some thought put into it that I can appreciate, because even some games today don't even do that much. As you beat bosses, you unlock ritual challenges, which sound super cool than what they actually are. They're just racing challenges. I thought they were going to be like a Batman challenge where you have to take out people as fast as you can. Instead, it's just a simple race to the end. The main missions have you following enemies, taking them out, but the big complaint was not enough stealth, which I'm personally not a huge fan of stealth anyway, but for a Predator game, it makes sense. You need stealth. Other missions would feature an open section of the city, allowing you to explore the city at your own pace, which felt like should have been the better move for the entire presentation of the game, because these open areas were intriguing. Just the freedom was fun. The levels do have bonus objectives like finding a specific guy and killing them, or destroying something specific, that sort of thing. And they end up giving you rewards to help you upgrade Scarface's armor, health, weapons, all that. Your basic stuff. The problem is that the later levels' main objectives are just so vague that you're running around the level trying to figure out what the hell you need to do. And sometimes there's a secret time limit you don't know about, or there's enemy detection, or it's just that there's always something that's going to do something to screw you up. And with no checkpoint system, all you have to do is do it all over again. And boy, nothing pisses me off more than trial and error when I suck. I'm gonna be honest, which I feel is like my entire job in this channel. I did not like this game. It's not the worst thing I've ever played in my life, but I didn't think it was great either. It honestly left me pretty disappointed. So it was very easy for me to see why it's hated all these years later. But I can also understand how people could enjoy it. This game does hit very well on most of the Predator stuff. They did respect the franchise with the gadget and the brutality of the game. Playing as a Yautja, featuring awesome kills with the intentions of being badass, is a great focus of the game. Plus, there's just a ton of fanfare. When I saw the Xenomorphs, I screamed in excitement like a teenager at a pop concert. Don't want to be specific, but you know which one. Now, you heard me say this throughout the entire video, but this game truly is the epitome of it. Cool ideas with awful execution. But it can be fun for diehards. But it does fall short in the story, in the gameplay, some of the visuals, but the biggest culprit are enraging controls and a wild and unnecessarily over-the-top story that really held this game back from being anywhere close to a cult classic. So just like the Yautja have a face only a mother could love, this game can only be appreciated by diehard fans. And the rest of us just think that this game is truly one
ugly motherfucker.